So Cyberpunk 2077's modding scene has always been something truly incredible. We've checked tons of mods over the past year that elevated its gameplay to the next level, and some of them even added features that CD Projekt Red themselves didn't bother with or didn't have time for. And in this video we're gonna check out mods that change the gameplay in ways you never thought were possible before and add new functionalities that you're definitely going to fall in love with. Some of them might even completely change things for the entire modding scene as we're looking forward to 2022. Now, the Lamborghini that you've seen at the start of the video wasn't a fake, it's actually a vehicle replacer for the Caliburn from the Dockworks vehicle multi-pack mod. And the pack actually features several vehicles, but this is definitely my favorite, especially since it also adds the Lamborghini Cala concept in the game. And for those who are a little bit into cars, you will know that this was basically the concept that the later Gallardo was based on more than a decade and a half later. So since this also has a more retro feel and look to it, especially from the back, I think it's the most appropriate version of a Lamborghini that would fit the game's aesthetics the best, which is why I'm also in love with the whole concept of this mod. It's not the only vehicle from the pack, by the way. The pack introduces about a handful of vehicles, including the DeLorean as a replacer for Johnny Silverhand's Porsche 911, which, by the way, if you summon, you will actually see the name right there in the summoning menu, so I really appreciate that the mod author has gone the distance to make it as believable as possible. Now, these were all cool, but the next mod from the same mod author really blew me away, because for the first time ever we got a fully functioning standalone vehicle mod in Cyberpunk 2077. And if you modded any other games, especially games like GTA 5 or 4 or San Andreas, you kinda know how difficult it is to add a fully functioning standalone vehicle in a game and not a simple replacer. Replacers are pretty easy. Standalone cars not so much, especially when it goes this deep into making it believable. So this car actually occupies its own separate slot in the vehicle summoning menu, meaning that you don't have to replace any existing vehicle. It's also based on the Quadra VTEC, meaning that it still looks impressive, it's still lore friendly, but it's been completely upgraded. It has that additional spoiler on the back or wing, whatever you call it, and tons of elements to reinforce the body kit. I think that this is one of the best looking vehicles right now in the game, and kind of makes me wish that we were able to do this ourselves in the game, using of course that redacted vehicle customization that was promised before launch. Now, scanning it also shows how deep the mod author went into making this believable. It has its own name, its own specs, and a complete lore section right there, right as you scan it. Its horsepower is only 570, which is pretty good. It's no Caliburn or Javelina, but it's still an amazing vehicle to have. It drives fantastic, and of course it has its own settings and its own driving like feel compared to some of the others in the game. Interior wise, it's even better than you might have thought, because I mean the entire interior has been redesigned and there's some cool bits in there added that I will leave for you guys if you want to play around with this. But since we were on the subject of missing features, it never made sense to me why in a futuristic setting like Cyberpunk 2077's, we never had any cool gadgets to play around with. Well, yes, you could hack enemies and take them down in interesting ways, but why such a lack of drones in 2077, I might ask, when even a game like Watch Dogs 2 did it years ago? Well, thanks to the same mod author that created the Metro system that we talked about a few days ago, we now have the Nano Drone, which is, I believe, one of the coolest functioning gameplay mods right now for Cyberpunk 2077, because it adds a fully functioning drone system in the game, and it also adds it in a very immersive way, because that's what we're all about in this video, immersiveness. So in order to purchase the Nano Drone, you just have to head over to any of the city's Reaper docks, and you will see that there's a new section right there at the top. Purchasing it will give you access to the Nano Drone, and this will open up a whole new aspect of the gameplay that you never thought possible before. So when you go out there, you will notice that there's a brand new button that you can press that will activate the drone, and it immediately starts working. It works exactly as you would expect it. It flies, it can scan things, it gives you a nice overhead look of the battlefield ahead, and it gives you the chance to plan ahead in ways that you have never done so before in Cyberpunk 2077. It's also fully functional, so this means you can scan enemies, you can ping them, you can mark them, and even hack them, kind of like how you would do it through a general camera. But it goes beyond that. It comes with upgrades as well. So if you go back at the same Reaper dock, you can upgrade all of its stats, just paying a little bit more eddies on top. This includes anything like the battery size, the range, and a whole slew of other upgrades that will help it resist a lot more in combat. Now, I will also say that it feels pretty balanced simply because it doesn't have infinite fuel. It will eventually deplete its battery and you will need to wait for it on cooldown. At the same time, its range is limited. If you pass that range of 100, eventually it will default back to your character. And it's a whole system in itself that just works out of the gate. Honestly, it made things so interesting in my gameplay that I started using this more and more after installing it. But yeah, let's continue with another mod that adds a gameplay functionality, and in my opinion, one of the most creative of them all. It adds literal item and clothes shopping from the computers in Cyberpunk 2077. It baffles me that in 2077 people don't order things online. Like, what's the use of so many computers in the game if you can't order things from the computers itself? Well, Virtual Atelier pretty much does exactly that. It's not even a mod, as it is a framework for other modders to bring their like custom-made items in-game via virtual shops. And it's also the best and most immersive way to add these items to your character, because now instead of using console commands, you just head over to any of your computers, open up the Atelier, and just go to any of these online shops, quote-unquote, and buy these items that the mod authors created for your character, and it's just an amazing experience. As I've said, it's fully functional, so before you even purchase an item, you can go ahead and look at the preview. Just clicking an item will preview it on your character, and if you press P or the equivalent on the controller, you can buy it for the eddies that you have. So you will actually need to have money to even afford some of these, which also makes it, in my opinion, quite balanced. But not as next level as the next mod on the list, and the final one that we will cover. And of course, you likely noticed throughout this video that V's apartment was looking especially different, and especially cool because there's a series of mods for V's apartment for every single type of life path. And not just that, there's different styles for each of the life path, so 3 for each of them and 9 in total for the entire game, which means you have quite a lot of options to pick from. You can pretty much change this on the fly. You can just like do it in the game without having to exit, and they all look really amazing, like very distinct from one another, and it gives you a flavor of that apartment that you never thought could be possible before. Of course, my favorite has to be the street kid style, especially the glam and the tacky, some of my favorites, but Corpo Suit also looks awesome, especially the net runner that you've seen through some of these shots. And of course, we also have the Nomad with a few of them, with the Overdrive, definitely one of my favorite. But as I've said, there's 9 of them in total right now you can go ahead and play around with, and they will change how the apartment looks completely. Now, definitely let me know down below which one of these was your favorite, and of course, what are you looking forward to the most when it comes to 2022 in Cyberpunk modding? What would you like to see being added, maybe from other games that also have mods in them? It's cool to debate these. So yeah, this is it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.